Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who just happens to have a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight we have a special show. He is not new to the show, he's been here before, and we're excited to have him back. And I'm hoping he's going to sign on very soon. We're going to have a discussion with the Reverend Dr. Robert Turner. He is the pastor of Empowerment Temple AME Church in Baltimore, Maryland. He is a social justice advocate, activist, and reparations trailblazer. Prior to becoming Empowerment Temple's pastor, Dr. Turner was the pastor of the historic Vernon AME Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And if you know anything about the 1921 massacre, you'll know that the historic Vernon AME Church was the only remaining edifice after the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. As pastor, he led the fight for justice for those victims of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. He led the charge of getting the burial sites excavated and, of course, seeking reparations for those citizens in Tulsa. Every Wednesday, he was out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Greenwood District, marching with a bullhorn in one hand and his Bible in the other, preaching and teaching that reparations were owed to the Black citizens of Tulsa, Oklahoma, with key figures in his church who were still living, who were still alive, having lived through the massacre. So it was a personal quest for him. He never stopped his quest for reparations after being given a new assignment to Empowerment Temple AME Church. That's what happens when you're in the AME Church. Your pastors do get moved. Actually, when he went to Empowerment Temple, that only enlarged his movement to include writing a book, creating a culture of repair, where he guides us all on what we must do to take action on the road to reparations. And he is here. There you go. I saw you. There you go.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Welcome back, Reverend Dr. Robert Turner.
It's always a pleasure to be back, Miss Pam. Always my pleasure.
All right, all right. So listen, let's dive right into it. And we're gonna start off with this right away. Good evening, Loretta. Good to see you. I thought of you immediately when I heard about the 1.8 billion program established by the Justice Department, the Anti-Weaponization Fund for the perpetrators of January 6th. I thought of you instantly. Instantly. And I'm curious, what was your reaction? I was just dumbfounded. I couldn't even speak. So what were you thinking?
I wasn't surprised that this president has shown a propensity to be very upfront about what he believes and who he supports. In fact, he broadcast that he would do it last March. I guess we did not believe that he would do it, but he broadcast last March that he would, and he did exactly that. What was so, to me, distasteful
Mm-hmm.
was, a lot of people round up the figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
1.8 million
Billion,
um
billion.
$1 billion, right? 1.8 billion. And this is after these folk have caused, like, for according to some reports, $2.7 billion in damage.
Mm.
to the capital, and they only paid back like 15% of that. Um, and instead of making them pay the rest of what they owe, and the damage that they were required to pay was less than the 2.7 billion in damages that they caused. So they were
Mm-hmm.
getting a discount on that. But not only did they not have to pay back the remaining fine, they only paid 15% of that. They got pardoned by this man
Yeah.
in the White House. And now, to add insult to injury, he wants to pay them out of a fund through the Department of Justice $1.776 billion. And I think that's important, because if you remove, it's important to highlight that, because if you remove the decimal, what do you have?
76.
1776. And
76.
this is the 250th anniversary of our nation. Most folks have missed that. So this man is showing you 250 years later. It's not 1.8, it's not 2 billion, it's 1.776. This
Mm.
man is showing everybody in real time that in his eyes and in the eyes of those insurrectionists, America that was founded for white men with property in 1776
Right.
still, in his eyes, are meant to be for white men with property.
Right.
And when they commit insurrections, it's still fine. In fact, pay them back. He's basically showing us that in 250 years, America has not changed.
Yeah. It hasn't. It has not changed. And hello, David. Hello, Dr. Deborah Jenkins.
Hey,
Now she too is a reparations lady. I've
good,
had both of you all on the show
good.
about reparations. So listen, um, Ashley Babbitt, who was in fact a credible threat to lawmakers on January 6th with her gun in hand, pointed and the whole bit, and she got shot and killed. I did not realize until doing some research that her family got nearly $5 million,
Oh
even
yeah,
though she was in the wrong.
she was in the wrong. She was in the wrong. These folks have gotten repaired. These
Hmm.
folks have gotten compensated. And on that day, 9 people lost their lives.
Right.
9 people. And two of the officers later committed suicide after that
Yeah.
day.
Hmm.
So it was 11 total as a result. And this man wants to give these folks 1776, $1.776 billion
Mm.
is beyond unconscionable. But I'm not surprised, because he told us that he wanted to do that. He told us, and
Hmm.
he fulfilled his promise. He tried.
Hmm.
Thankfully, cooler heads have prevailed in DC.
I'm worried because I keep hearing now they've changed a name to slush fund or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm just never fully trusting of, even when things seem to be going our way. I'm not 100%, comfortable thinking that it has gone that way.
Yeah.
I'm just not. So Senator Raskin, he proposed a bill to heavily compensate police officers hurt physically, emotionally, and everything else for the impact of January 6th. And I agree with that. But what I see is that there's money federally, but none for
Now
us.
we talking. Now we talking. And I
Yeah.
I agree with you that I support that bill for those police officers. But to your point, anytime the word reparations is mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
is always countered with, among many counters, they always state that they don't have the money
Mm-hmm.
to do it.
Right.
But I remember, and I'm sure your audience does too, that during this recession, you remember they created a term, too big to fail,
Oh yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
remember when corporate
Oh yeah, for the
CEOs was,
auto companies, because I was,
yeah.
being from Detroit, I was all in for that because I just
And
couldn't see
most folks
that
supported
benefit.
it, right?
Yeah,
Most folks across the country supported it. I
right,
have no problem with anybody getting a check. I don't like these insurrections getting a check. Thank
right,
God that they won't. But for most in large part, black people, we not trying to hate on anybody getting their coin.
right,
Problem is, keep that same energy
right,
when it comes to us and our issues. This
right.
country said those corporations who of their own volition, right? There was
Uh,
their they nobody made them make the decisions and investments that they made that went belly up.
the
Nobody made them invest in Bernie Madoff. The man was a scam artist. You remember
right.
him too?
Yeah, oh
Nobody made them do any of this stuff. They didn't verify or check these folks they put money into, these portfolios they put money into, but they
right,
lost. They
right.
lost. When we lose, we got to pay for it, right?
We do,
When
we
when
do.
they lose, they were deemed too big to fail. I remember that. We
I
found
remember,
$1 trillion,
I remember,
and it
but
was bipartisan. It was
it was,
bipartisan,
it was.
Democrat and Republicans.
Yeah, and I think, and to be clear and fair, I think it was just General Motors and not Ford. Ford was okay. If I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken, I think their balance sheets were okay because they had made wise decisions, but it was
Hmm.
GM and Chrysler, which
Hmm.
Chrysler has been bought and sold a couple of times since then. But
And it
anyway,
was some banks too.
yes, it was a lot of banks. It was
Yes.
a lot of banks involved with that. A lot of banks, a lot.
Because I was like, how are we gonna give money to banks, and the banks still charging us interest. So if anything, if you gonna give the banks my tax dollars, because I was banking I had a mortgage with one of the companies who got a bailout. So like, if you're gonna give them my tax dollars to bail them out, make them forgive some of our debt.
Right,
That's fair.
right,
If you're giving them our money,
right.
but that's too much like right.
That's too much like right. So listen, what does reparations mean to you beyond the financial compensation?
Oh, it means it's really reparations. Thank you for that question, Miss Pam. Reparations is more a spiritual concept than it is anything else. It's if you Google and you go to Webster, it is synonymous with the word atonement.
Mhm. Mhm.
And as believers, we believe, as Christians, as Christian believers, we believe that Jesus was the atonement for us,
Mhm.
because of our sin, because of the sin of Adam and our original sin. And so reparations at its very root is atonement. It's repairing the breach that had been taken down, or put away. And so whatever that looks like in whatever culture or society, that rebuilding or that repairing of the breach that was taken,
Mhm.
is what reparations look like. So in America, we can start across the world, whatever country you want to mention. But I live in America. I live in the United States of America. Um, it looks like repairing the harm that was caused, um, by the things such as, um, the transatlantic slave trade,
Mhm.
by things such as slavery, by government. These are not like some offshoot or some individual actions by demented folks,
Mhm.
although it was demented folk who carried them out.
Right.
But it was government action to do the transatlantic slave trade. It was government action to say that it was legal for America to have slaves, enslaved
Right.
people. Government action that stated we can have black codes, and Jim Crow was government action.
Yeah.
Mass incarceration, government action. Redlining, government action. The assassination of our leaders. That was
Right.
government. That was CIA and FBI that killed Martin, Malcolm, Metga. That was government action. Fred Hampton, the destabilized the Black Panther Party. That was government action that did the crack cocaine distinction. That
Mm.
was government action that led. I mentioned the red line, but also giving banks loans and predatory lending, and allowing these subprime rates. And that was government action that allowed these title sharks, title max, to take your title and still exist today. That's government action, that I'm talking about. Police brutality, government action, that's killing our young men. That is all government action. Land theft, government action. We have seen it in every state of the union, how
Mhm.
the government, federal, state, and local, has been weaponized. If we want to use
Mhm.
the word that Trump uses, has been weaponized
Mhm.
against black people in every generation.
Mhm.
And that for each and every harm, there ought be a equal measure of repair.
Okay. Here's in the audience uh a comment. Reverend, I believe all of the problems we are having in this country is about us. We
Mhm,
are their problems. Can't write enough and explain why I believe. Okay.
mhm.
And Dr. Jenkins, definitely a spiritual concept and quite biblical. Isaiah 58:12.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so I know that I mean, you want the spiritual aspect of it, but what does it look like and how do we do it?
So
How
I'm
does
gonna have you ask that question because it gives me a chance to publicize my book. I
Yes, and do you have your book?
I I
I
do,
gotta
but it's not in my office with me right now. I was going to
uh-huh.
get it when you called me, when you just mentioned me
You
before
can
I
go
get
get it. Is it
give me
far away?
give me 5 seconds. No, if you
Okay.
count to five, I
Okay.
promise you, I will be
We
right
counting to
there.
five, y'all. So he's going to get his book so he can put it on the screen. His book is entitled, I'm going to tell you again, it is entitled Culture of, let's see.
I got it. Did you count to
Okay.
five?
Yeah, we don't went to 5, 6, 7.
Here we go. Culture, creating a culture of repair.
Creating.
Written by yours truly. It took me about 4 years to write. Started writing while I was in Tulsa. And in this book, it has the longest list of reparatory ideas
Mm-hmm,
done by an individual in the country. Over 100 ways of doing repair, over 100 ways
mm-hmm,
of doing repair. And it goes from individual repair, things that individuals who may be frustrated and tired of waiting on the government to act. It gives them things they can do. It's small gestures, but over time and if done consistently, could make a major impact. You know, I still believe in the old adage that a drop of water over time can put a hole in a rock,
it
and that
can.
has been found to be true.
Yeah.
The next chapter is societal reparations, and it describes things that communities could do, neighborhood associations that they could what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that we have allowed to just go on. For one, and if you don't mind, I
Yes.
mentioned it. For instance, neighborhood associations. We have several across the country. But one thing that they could do is to look at these covenants that govern neighborhoods, and a lot of these in a lot of these restrictive covenants, there's still racist language that says black folks cannot live there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Fair Housing Act made those sections of the covenant unenforceable, but they're still on the paper. They're still on the documents. They're still actually held in public spaces as far as the probates and the courts, in our state cities and states. And though that's one thing that people can do on a societal level. Also renaming streets and schools and buildings. We have so many schools and streets named in honor of Confederate soldiers or
Mm-hmm.
people who enslaved people. Um, um, and these Confederate memorials and monuments that are all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Excavate mass graves, form local preservation societies, stop appropriating black culture, organize annual conversations on deconstruction, race, and repairing the harm. That's things people, community organizations can do. The next chapter talks about the institution reparations, and that to me is the truest form of repair because it hits to addressing the community destabilization I mentioned about how the government, we black people, are
Mm-hmm.
one of the only folks in this nation that our own United States government sought to kill our leaders.
Yes.
I let that sink in. The same thing we tried to do in other countries, like we tried hundreds of times to kill Fidel Castro. Still didn't work. The man died at 90. The man outlived a lot of his enemies.
Yeah.
We took out Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
In the same measures that America does overseas, it has done and was successful with our leaders. We're
Yeah.
the only people in this nation that the government has tried not just tried but killed our leaders. Malcolm, Martin, Fred Hampton, and so many others, and destabilize our organizations. So this chapter deals with institutional repair, and how America owes black organizations. Like America tried to disarm and outlaw. They outlawed the NAACP in southern states like Alabama. So instead of having NAACP, you could not be a member of the NAACP in states like Alabama. So what they did was they formed voters leagues to help offset not having an NAACP, because it was state law in Alabama that the NAACP could not have a chapter. That's
Really?
facts. Yes. My daddy
That's your
helped.
home state.
That's why I know. My daddy helped start voters leagues in the home county that he lived in,
What was
because
that
in
county?
Bullitt County. So they called it Bullitt County Voters League because the NAACP was outlawed. Now they can have the NAACP today, but during that time, you could not have a pub. Now folks still did it underground, but you could have
Mhm.
a public organization called the NAACP. And so as a result, those were decades of membership dues that our organizations were not able to get. The
Wow.
government owes them because that was harm that the government caused.
Mhm.
Because of things such as redlining, the government, in my book I mentioned, finance black home ownership. The government should help black people in financing get us a home, because this same government prevented for so many years. Do you know that from when mortgages started, 1930s, to FHA when it was passed in the 1960s, there was zero black home loans given? Zero.
Wait a minute. Wait. Say that part again.
From when home loans were first given
Yes.
in the 1930s, I think in 1934, 1936, to when FHA, Fair Housing Act, was finally passed by Mitt Romney's dad. He was a strong advocate for the Fair Housing Act.
Mhm.
Black people could not get a home mortgage loan from the United States government.
Yet
They
we
had
served in their wars.
Yet we served them not in their wars. Yet we lost our sons in their wars.
That's that too. Yeah.
And I got a section on the GI Bill because we were not able to get full benefits of the GI Bill. So,
Really?
but absolutely, my granddaddy. I'm not talking about what I researched. I'm talking about what I live. My granddaddy fought in World War II. His
Mhm.
daddy fought in World War One. They could not. They were not able to get the same benefits as their counterparts,
Mhm.
such as college education. My
Mhm.
granddad didn't go to college. It wasn't paid for. Why? Because in order to get the GI Bill passed, they had to get the Southern Democrat vote, and they would not allow for black soldiers to have the same benefits as whites. So what they did was they struck a compromise which stated that the GI Bills will be administered locally.
Mhm.
That sounds good on paper, but when local means the local GI officer in Alabama
Mhm.
will determine if my granddad could get access of his GI Bill benefits, that meant all the veterans were
Mhm.
denied.
Yeah.
But on paper, it looks like, well, all the soldiers got access to the GI Bill. No, because the
No.
government put in the bill that they'll be administered locally.
Mhm.
And they knew that meant that the black soldiers were not
What?
going to get it from their local governments, from their
Right.
local communities. And
Right.
so the government owes them. I got so many action items. This is
Mhm.
an action item oriented book,
Okay.
about what America owes to black people, and I tie it to a historical wrong. I don't just This ain't something I just pulling out of thin air. I
Right.
tie each action item to
Mhm.
a historical wrong, because what is reparations? It is atonement for harm. So
Yeah.
I mentioned the harm, and I tie each action item. That's why it took me so long to write it. I tie each action item, and I wrote this myself. No chat GBT did this. I tie each action item to a specific harm that
Uh-huh.
happened. Um,
Let
and
me
the,
tell.
go ahead.
We got a few things in the chat. Dr. Jenkins, your reparations counterpart says that Bullock County is her family's ancestral home
Wow.
from Montgomery. You know,
Okay.
she lives in New York now. It's a small world. Isn't that something? And then
My daddy and daddy, grandmother, uncles, aunties all live in Midway. Well, my dad grew up in Midway, Alabama, in Bullock County, right down the street from Union Springs, which is the county seat for Bullock County, and not
wow.
far from Montgomery.
Okay. And Terry Allen had a long one here. He said, Amen. Repairing broken things is important, but repairing broken systems is
Hmm.
essential. The urgency of our time is found in the partnership between the older generation and the next generation. Sadly, the children of Emmett Till would still have to talk to the children of George Floyd about many of the same problems.
I
And that's a
agree.
sin and a shame.
I agree.
Sin and a
And
shame.
none but the truth.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow, wow. So listen, but now I can hear brothers and sisters, and I'm one of them brothers and sisters saying, but you know what? I like all of the repair and the atonement and what have you, but what and I like the idea about the home situation, but is there any cash on the table?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Listen,
Okay,
and now
okay, now come on now.
I got 100. I got 100 suggestions. Over 100.
Okay,
Cash
okay,
is one. Money is one of those 100.
okay,
And so
okay.
I want us to know that while it is important, it is a major one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what they say, what the song said, money can't buy me love.
Right.
Um,
That's
um, money, and the acquisition of it, um, and only a check will not solve everything.
no. We're gonna talk about that.
We need a check. We deserve a check. We are owed a check,
Yeah.
but we also but a check and some benefits. Same thing with the GI Bill. The GI Bill, the soldiers got paid, but they
Mhm.
also got free health care. Right?
Yes.
Those are
Yes.
things called fringe benefits. The check is good, but the check can be spent.
Yeah.
Benefits renew and they
Yes.
recur over time.
Yeah, and
Right? Money
that's
can be
what's up.
exhausted.
Yes.
Benefits are reoccurring. And
Right.
so the check is great, but the benefits is what I'm talking about, the other 99 things in this book that are reoccurring. And so, but
Mhm.
no, yes, I think that and there have been so many different estimates on a dollar amount.
Right.
Um I as folks who I would say are much smarter than I who try to come up with a dollar amount. My problem though with those that I've read, I don't want to call out anybody because I still support the $8 amount.
Mhm.
Um the unfortunate part though is that everything I've read, the dollar amount is too small, too
Mhm.
low.
Mhm.
Because most of the dollar amounts only count for the time we our ancestors worked um as chattel slaves, right?
Mhm.
Um hardly any of the dollar amounts, count the effects of property devaluation because of redlining. Hardly any of the dollar amounts quantify the effects of a Jim Crow living in a segregated society. Hardly any of the dollar amounts quantify how much trauma and hardship it had to have been to
Mhm.
live in a society of racial terror.
Yeah.
Man, we still live in that society today.
Yeah.
But even more so then, where black women could be raped, could be attacked, could be kidnapped
Mhm.
without any fear of repercussion. The
Right.
perpetrator could not fear any. I mean, like you couldn't report it to anybody and expect anything to happen from it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, now somebody can say it can still happen today, and they may not. But and that's true. But I think over time, because of some criminal justice safeguards, the amount would go down. It still will be an amount for a black woman. You should still get something for that, even if you were born in 1980 or 1970. But surely those born in 1920s, 1930s, my grandma
Mhm.
1940s, um, should have something. And so I haven't heard any calculation include, monetizing what their trauma must feel like to live with. Or to send your children, send your sons out to get some coffee or to get some sugar, or get some flour, and they
Mm-hmm.
may not turn up, man, and come back home. Same, we see it, in moments such as like with George Floyd or Trayvon Martin going to get something
Yeah.
from the store, and most recently with Brother Cyrus in South
Oh,
Carolina who got
God.
shot by this Asian man.
And that's
Um,
that's another topic I want to talk about. We'll get to it tonight. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. But another thing that the money calculations I have not seen
Mhm.
calculate is most of the calculations I've seen only calculate the labor during chattel slavery, which is a small slither of our time in this nation. But
Yeah.
none of them, even for those including the enslaved lack of enslaved wages, but none of them calculate the fact
Mhm.
that these folk were not enslaved until they came here. What does that mean? That
Yeah.
means
What does
they
that mean?
were that means they were actually kings, queens, noblemen, businessmen and women, craftsmen. They
Mhm.
had land before
Mhm.
they came here. America didn't just enslave slaves.
Yeah.
America enslaved people.
Right.
And
Right.
so the calculation I've seen only talks about the work they did here.
Right.
It doesn't talk about what they got, where they took them from.
Right.
the
What their
the lost
value
wages, the value of their life,
value of their
the value
life.
of their home,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It's like today, if you get in a car accident and you get hurt or paralyzed, a good attorney not gonna just pay you for you getting your leg broke, they're gonna pay
Right.
you for your potential lost wages,
Right. Right.
right? And
Right.
so for us, we gotta be we should consider the lost income we could have had, and they didn't just kidnap us from the desert
Right.
Antarctica. They
Right.
kidnapped us from the most resource-rich continent in the world.
Right. That's facts.
So
Facts.
our property value was in the millions. We
Yeah.
got
Okay.
diamonds,
Okay.
oil,
I see
gold.
where you're coming from. I see
So
where you're coming from, Pastor. I
that's what
see.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think the money is too low because we're only counting just a slither of the lifespan of the enslaved person and
Uh,
not seeing them in totality. Like if they had just left our ancestors alone, we
right.
would be
Yeah.
having $1 trillion enterprise
Right. I see.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I get it. There's a few things in the chat. Let's see. They're kind of long. Let's see. Let Pastor Turner know that we here in New York Reparations Commission will be considering as one of our recommendations the formulation of a reparations agency.
Good.
His book could share some recommendations
Oh,
what would be contained
yes.
within it. Please reconnect. Oh, okay. I absolutely.
Absolutely, Dr. Jenkins, and because you're from the crib too, I would if Miss Pam would connect us, I would give you a free copy. And if you want to buy, you can give it to a friend. But I'll give you. I can't do this for everybody, but I will
Right.
give you a free copy, Dr. Jenkins, for you to
Uh-huh.
use as a resource in that commission. That's awesome. I
Uh,
love to hear that.
good. And let's see. Let's see. Terry says, Dr. Turner, in California, the discussion has determined that 2.5 million to 3.5 million for each eligible descendant of U.S. slavery to address the direct impact of generations of discrimination and lost
Mhm.
opportunities. That's to your point
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
those who were taken. Any punitive damages for the harm inflicted would be a separate conversation beyond those direct economic losses. Lord, it's a lot to
Yeah,
think.
and so I think that's good. I think all of that is great as a starting point. What I want to make sure, and I had a chance to meet the late great Ted Kennedy, who was before, right now we know it as Obamacare, but he was an advocate for universal health care before Obama was even in the presidency.
Mhm,
Um, and one of the things he taught me was that when dealing with policy, especially major policy initiatives,
mhm,
you get one slice at a time. You get as much as you can in each session. So I think that's a beautiful thing for California to have, and I'll be doing my walk there later on.
mhm.
But we need to make sure that our community knows we not finished fighting. Like once, and I believe, I trust, and I know that God will provide that which you seek. But we got to let our community know that we ain't finished fighting, right? We got to
Right.
that 2.5 to 3.5 is great, we got to come back and get some more because our harm has still not been fully repaired for. So we
No.
need to make sure once this, and we have to kind of put that in our mind psychologically that
Mhm.
once we get this right, we still not stopping because it's still not over. And I present to you for an example of that our Jewish brothers and sisters, right?
Yes.
After we created, and got them placed in Israel, right? That land space. They
Yeah.
didn't stop fighting for what they wanted.
They no, they did not.
They continue to fight, right?
Yeah.
The same thing with Japanese Americans and with Asian Americans. They didn't just stop the indigenous Americans. They didn't just stop when we allowed us recognize them being a sovereign nation. No, they continue every session to get some more funding from our United States government. So
Mm,
we have to put in our minds mentally that first of all we will win, but
mhm.
secondly, when we win, our fight ain't over.
Right,
And
right,
that's something we have to put in our children's mind because our unfortunately, and I love them, but the previous generation act as though once they got the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights
right,
Act, that we were
right.
finished.
Right. We did, and we forgot. You know what?
Dr.
It
King
is
didn't
the
stop,
truth.
but our people stopped. They killed him. He was because he went on to economic justice,
He
went
sure
from
did, and
civil
they
rights to civil rights.
and see, I think he would have gotten to reparations.
Mhm.
I'm confident
He
that he
preached
would
about
have.
it in his
Yeah,
latter years. He preached about it.
yeah. So and so let me ask you this. Had you given any thought as to who qualifies for reparations and how would that eligibility be determined?
Yeah, I think that depends on the state because each state was created in different times, and all the things that occurred in those states. Now, for the United States government, it started in 1776. We that's the blanket time frame that we can go by. But again, back to my original definition, whoever qualifies or whoever has suffered,
Mhm.
period. That whatever suffering because of your race that you've endured, now, if you to to whom who has suffered the most,
Mhm.
well, should just logically get the most, right? So
Yeah.
your repair should be commensurate to your amount of suffering. And in this case, the amount of suffering will be mostly, unless there's individual cases, a
Mhm.
specific harm. Like the Emmett Till family has an individual case of
Mhm.
specific harm.
Mhm.
But in most cases, it will be commiserate to the time that your family has been in America. So for those who've been here for many generations,
Yeah.
your family line has been impacted for a long time. For those who've been here for a few generations, your family has still been impacted, but not as long as those who've been here for like 6, 7 generations.
You know what? But the only thing with that is that it really gets complicated because so many of us don't really know our backgrounds. It's like you'd have to go do
That's
genealogy
right.
studies on all Black
and
Americans.
and, and that's why in my book I mentioned that for every black person in this nation, I don't care if you've been here for 3 years or 300 years, your people, genealogical research should be for free for us
Mm,
because we a lot of times we are not the reason why we're here. In fact, African Americans, who descended from of slave, are the only people in this nation who didn't choose to be here.
right, right. It
We're the
was
only
an
ones.
inspiration. Right, right.
So
Okay, yeah. It's so complicated, but it's something that we have to discuss when we're talking about reparations for whatever.
mhm.
Got a few things in the chat. Miss Butler says, today I heard this sermon by Reverend Neighbors from Evanston, Illinois.
Good brother.
Keep teaching. We need more ministers to get on the same page. Never forget.
I know Reverend Neighbor as well. Whoever Sister Butler
She's
is
in
can
Detroit.
Detroit. Okay, well tell him that Robert Turner says hello. He's a good brother, good friend, good
He
ally too in cause reparations.
Yeah, he was visiting her church.
Oh, gotcha,
It is
gotcha.
And Terry says Cookie Lyons he's quoting from TV shows. I came to get what's mine. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said America gave black people
That's right.
a bad check marked insufficient funds. He was ready. The
That's right.
Jews have received $80
That's
billion
right.
reparations.
That's right.
Time to get paid.
That's
Lord.
right.
Ooh-wee. But you know what? It's this thing like it's in for me, but not for thee. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing with this whole situation. So listen, what would reparations alone address the systemic inequities in our society?
I think true reparations will based especially based on the UN definition, which includes cessation of harm, CESSATION, cessation of harm, meaning that you got to stop doing the things that harm black folks.
Mm-hmm.
So if that will be fully implemented, and the recommendations in my book are designed around.
Hold your book up straight up like this so we can see it. Like put your hand on the top. Yeah. Yeah, so we can see it. Yep. Creating a culture of repair. Okay.
Yes. And so one of the things that the UN says is that in order to have true reparations, you must have cessation of harm. And if we truly presented, passed, implemented laws that cause the harm to cease,
Mm-hmm.
um, then yes, it will. Um, and I think reparations is truly the only hope for America to break the shackles of white supremacy, the idolatry
Mm-hmm.
of white supremacy. Because if they can't do that, then this country is doomed to really be a pagan society that performs and commits idolatry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I with this whole thing with the Christian nationalism bent with
Mhm,
this Heritage Foundation and the damage
mhm,
that they have done, and to see how the Republican Party has capitulated to
mhm.
this to such a heavy degree, I don't know. I mean, we've had so much more harm on top of our regular harm. I don't know. I mean, how do we even just move forward? And what role should local government, universities, churches, or corporations play in this whole thing of reparations, of getting us whole again?
So
Ever getting we haven't been whole ever, so in this
no,
country.
no, universities are key. I hate to sound trite, but a section on that, a chapter on that in my book. I went to the University of Alabama, and a law school professor did research and found that they had enslaved people buried on campus. Um,
You know what? I read about that.
Jack and Boise were the enslaved names.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so what happens is in these universities, on these campuses of the universities, these schools, when they hired staff, professors, they gave them a slave, and then it gave them a whole person as a fringe benefit. So you got your salary, and you got a whole person to do with whatever you want to do with.
Oh
And
my.
when that person dies, they were buried on campus and in my unmarked grave. So we did a whole service for them. Goal was to give them dignity in death, even though they never got it in life. So I say all that to say, any university founded before 1865, you could
Mm-hmm.
almost bet was either built by enslaved people or had enslaved people on that campus.
Mm-hmm.
Those universities owe reparations. Period, point blank, hard stop. You cannot be a university, a place of higher learning in America, where
Mm-hmm.
was supposedly the best and brightest are welcome to come and to learn
Right.
and learn about the humanities, learn about liberal arts, learn about business management, and not talk about the worst business practice America's ever seen.
Right.
And not talk about the worst inhumane, as according to UN now, the most gross act of depravity
Yes,
in
that's
in the
yeah,
history of the world,
that's what he
right?
said.
And
Yeah.
so for universities, that's a first and a hard stop. You got to address your own legacy, and we have some that
Mhm.
have committed to doing it. Now, since Trump has been in office, we haven't heard much about it. We
Right.
heard Georgetown commit to do it, but we
Mhm.
haven't seen we haven't seen we
Yeah.
I haven't seen any hard proof of
Mhm.
what Georgetown did.
Right.
We've heard about other schools what they plan to do. Same
Mhm.
thing with Target planning to do stuff. After everybody after George Floyd
Yeah.
planned to do something, and
Mhm.
black folks, and I'm one of them. We get so happy we congratulate folks off of plans and pledges, but
Right.
we never seen it be implemented. I haven't
Yeah.
seen yet the
Yeah.
implementation of any of these plans. Right?
Right.
We gotta stop being so excited about plans and pledges and
Right.
wait till the check come in. So that's for the universities, corporations,
Mhm.
same thing. You know, we have organizations, corporations that exist to this day that profit off slavery,
Yes.
and
Yes.
because racism didn't just stop at 1865. We have corporations that benefited during Jim Crow.
Yes.
We have corporations that help sustain, right? Doing I just did my walk recently with from in Virginia. There
Right.
were white businesses, the business councils of these cities and states, majority white, were head and led by white corporate leaders. They
Mm.
funded, bankrolled these new schools. Now we call them academies. They created the segregated system after public schools were integrated. That's why to this day, now according to some studies, schools are more segregated today
Yes.
than they were in 1954. If that
And
can
that's
even make
something.
sense to you.
It
But
doesn't
it's
even make
because of the business community during the 50s and the 60s who
mhm.
set money aside to create these academies, these private academies, all white academies
Right.
that their children went to. That
Right.
has to be explored, right?
Right.
How can you be a business making money from black people, right?
Right.
And you using that money to build up academies for only white children.
Right.
And that playbook, as we have seen, we see now Asian people making money, all black people, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
still killing black folks at will.
Well, you know what? I what's fascinating about the whole Asian situation is that they got money to come in our communities because the banks would not allow them to have commercial real estate in the white areas.
That's right.
That's
My
why
mom.
they're in our communities
In the first place.
in the first place. And then the thing is, I really think, they got this guy, I don't know who he is. He went viral about, well, you black people, if you
Hmm.
boycott us, da 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 da.
He
Da.
fine. He was an Asian guy. I saw that.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting though, when I really stopped to think about it, wouldn't it doesn't it make sense to have minorities going at each other's throat and forgetting about the even bigger picture, what's going on in the background? So
Oh
now
yeah.
we're all focused. We're not talking about Epstein files. We're not talking about healthcare. We're not talking about all of the important things, the real social security, all of the important things. Now we're focusing on, well, we better boycott them and we better do this and that, instead of focusing, let South Carolina focus on Mr. Chow and his businesses.
Yeah.
And then you get this character. See, I really think that there's some foul, wicked PR play.
Well,
At
that's your background, so you know that better than I do, and better than most. But I can't say I agree that there is a greater orchestrator at work. It
Yeah,
was no accident, as your audience and the U.S. Supreme Court struck down affirmative action, right?
yeah.
Um, do you know? I'm sure. Well, you know that the plaintiff in that was
Mhm.
Asian
Yes,
Americans.
yes, he was.
They
Yes, he
they
was.
call they call themselves some call them the model minority, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's been at play for some time. I can tell you that the Asian community, at least in Congress, has been very supportive of reparations because they received it for being put in
They
internment
get
camps. So I'm
internment,
I'm
right?
not casting aspersions on all Asians, not even most Asians,
Right.
but I can say, and it's not even their fault about this because you just mentioned why they get loans to come into our communities,
That's right.
right?
They could
Um,
not get into the traditional white suburban communities. They were not given monies to go there. They
no,
were not.
and but I can also say the pervasiveness of that idol of white supremacy, where whiteness is seen as rightness,
Right.
um, that the pervasiveness doesn't just stop, and the adherents of that ideology are
Mhm.
not just white people,
Mhm. No.
Asian
Absolutely not.
people, Latino
No.
people. We saw it in the election,
Oh,
right?
yeah, we
The Latin
definitely
America,
saw
the
the
Latin American community would
yes.
rather vote with the numbers. I'm not making this up. The numbers showed
Yeah,
would
the
rather vote
numbers
for
tell
Donald Trump
everything. Right. That's
than
right.
Kamala Harris,
Yeah, and
right?
they had songs and everything else. We saw
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so the pervasiveness of white supremacy has hit and it hits black folks too. We have fallen prey to white supremacy. You
Yeah.
know, white, and then to me, I think that's one of the worst forms: white supremacy in blackface,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's the worst.
So
Worst.
you have people, like a Stephen A. Smith that'd rather shoot out his bullets at a Jasmine Crockett, and other black folk, but once play pity pat with Donald Trump,
Yeah.
right?
I don't
You
yeah.
have the Herschel Walkers and of course the Clarence Thomases of the
Oh,
world, and I don't even want to get that energy because you like as to your point, they are not my enemy, right? But the fact is, white supremacy has many adherents, and not
mhm.
all of them are just white.
Right.
And so, but we as a people, we need to be more adamant about self rule and self autonomy, where we shouldn't allow anybody to be able to come into our community
Mhm.
and set up shop without first coming to see us. I'm not saying they can't,
Yeah.
but I can't open up a business in Little Italy right now.
Right.
I can't. I can't go to Chinatown and
Mhm.
open up a black bookstore.
Uh-huh.
Why? Because first of all, they're not gonna sell me any land to do it,
Mhm.
and I gotta talk to somebody to get permission before I go.
Right.
Black people, we let whosoever will bring whatever they want to bring,
Mhm.
and that's a problem.
Mhm. Yeah. Amen.
I
Amen.
can't tell
Amen.
you. I can't tell the last time I've been to a a gas station owned by a black person was when I was in Alabama, and
Mm.
there's a town about 300 people, Bullitt County, matter of fact, Fuzzy Hill gas station.
Uh-huh.
Since I left Alabama, I have not gone to a black owned gas station in
Mhm.
my memory,
Yeah.
and that's it. We all buy gas. We
Right.
all we all
But
complain about
most
how
of
high
them
gas prices are,
right,
but
but
who
most
own the gas stations?
back home in Detroit, the Chaldeans own them. Their
Mm,
people own them. Yeah. We got to get back to the
yeah,
chat.
sure.
Let's see. There needs to be a baseline eligibility that begins with genealogy traced through the U.S. Census records of either 1860, 1870. I agree that genealogy should be free to help us reclaim our heritage. Well, we could get a whole lot from the Mormons. They got that stuff down.
Yes,
They really
yeah,
got it down. And
tied to their faith.
yep, yep. One thing history makes clear is that enslaved Africans were treated as economic assets. Absolutely. And
Hmm.
detail, they kept, you know what? Thank God for their detailed, wicked records, because that's how we
Hmm.
know stuff.
Yep.
Were often kept of their purchase, sale, labor, inheritance, and ownership. Those records, along with census data, plantation ledgers, bills of sale, and other documents, created a paper trail. The receipts exist. Pay me direct deposit will do.
Amen. Direct deposit, Zelle, Cash App.
Fact, the U.S. Jesuits, a Catholic religious order, admitted that
That's
they
right.
enslaved people and in 1838 sold more than
That's right.
272 enslaved men, women, and children to help fund what became Georgetown
That's
University.
right, brother Allen. You know your stuff. And we
Mhm.
haven't in Georgetown. I want to be clear. They made a pledge to do something.
Mhm.
We have not seen the sustainability of that pledge.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And there's one more thing that Alan says: statement questions. We spend the money, but too often
Hmm.
someone else owns the
I
store.
preached about that today.
From beauty supply stores to nail salons, restaurants, and check cashing businesses, many of the businesses operating in Black neighborhoods are owned by Asians, but we shop them and bypass the Black owned stores. Why do we do that? We are still drinking the white man's Kool Aid, Dr. T, Pam. We have lost our cultural memory. And you know what? Dr. Turner, I did a whole show last week on history. We did a whole history thing from the end of the Civil War through Jim Crow, no, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, the Civil Rights era, and the Obama years up to now. I had a sister on that she did that, and I need to break up that piece because what's very evident to me is that we have a short memory, and more importantly, a lot of people have never been taught. They've never been taught the history. Like they're hearing bits and pieces of why we should vote, and all they know is Dr. Martin Luther King. They don't know the whole other backstory well before Dr. King
That's
and what
right.
the struggles were. They don't know it.
Yes, they
They,
don't.
they don't. And so when you don't know the full story, you keep hearing bits and pieces of a story, but you don't get the whole meat and potatoes. And we just have, unfortunately, we have a whole lot of young people that are totally ignorant of
Hmm.
what many of us who are older assume that they know. And we can't assume anything.
We can't. We can't. And like I said, we gave them this false sense that the struggle was over. So
Please.
we have done, and you have people now, and I'm not calling out anybody because they know who they are. But we have more people now who do more marches for commemoration than for activation.
That's true.
We
That's
do these annual Dr. King marches.
true. Hmm.
We do these annual Selma Jubilee marches, which is fine. I've gone.
Yeah.
But we don't do any active marches for anything. It's
Hmm.
like it's just performative,
Yeah.
right? So our children think really that you know we have our children walk more through an airport than they do through their own streets for cars. Like
That's true.
they walk more at Disney World than they do for a cause, right? And
Yeah.
so they thinking that we made it. We got a black man. We had a black man in the White House.
Right.
My favorite basketball player making millions of dollars.
Right.
We my favorite rapper got bling in his mouth. We made it, right? No, we
Right.
can't. In
Yeah.
fact, they don't even feel like they have to go to college anymore because they see how many rich people on social media just getting
Right.
paid to post videos.
Or yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's something.
this is like the worst nightmare.
Hmm.
Here I am. I'm just leaving Cuba, seeing people with absolutely nothing, wishing
Yeah.
they could
And
have resources to do something with.
tell us about that Cuban trip. How did you get selected to go there? Was
Mhm.
it part of your reparations work that
No, it was a part
go
of
there?
just me being a preacher who what their words were to that speaks to the needs of societal uplift and prophetic voice.
Okay.
Um,
So who
um,
was it that sent you there? What organization?
it was a delegation led by various organizations.
Okay.
And it was a really mixed group of people from journalists to activists to organizers and I was one of only two preachers, pastors.
Hmm.
Um, And so the goal was, it was a fact finding mission.
Mhm.
So we were there to get um information, to know what was really going on,
Mhm.
because we know that on the issue of Cuba and the subjugation of Cuba, that unfortunately seems to be have been a bipartisan issue in America,
Mhm.
from the Bay of Pigs, which is authorized by a Democratic president that we all love and revere, John F. Kennedy,
Yeah.
to now most recently, um, this current president has a warship like 100 yards off the coast. It was my first time ever going to a country with an American warship
Mhm.
aiming at the land I was going to, and me
Hmm.
being there. And so what I can tell you is that the news we have gotten
Uh-huh.
about Cuba has been
Yeah.
totally biased. I
Yeah.
mean, completely biased. We have right now, we have to understand that the country of Cuba was for so long ran by organized crime and the wealthy, under but former leader called Batista, um, and the people were in poverty, in great poverty. Um, Fidel Castro, who's actually a lawyer by trade,
Yeah.
he got activated because he got tired of seeing so many people in poverty, and he led a revolution inspired by those such as Che Guevara in Mexico, and they kicked out Batista and his entire regime. And what they did was, which was revolutionary, they kicked them off their own land. They told the wealthy, we taking this and give them to the people.
Mhm.
The wealthy didn't like it. They didn't like it at all. They didn't like it at all.
Mhm.
Because they were living off of the poverty of the people in Cuba.
Mhm.
And so they left Cuba and they went to Miami. And they've been raising hell ever since. So that's
Mhm.
why most of the Cubans in Miami are very conservative, because they don't like them at all. And Marco Rubio is a descendant of those
Yeah, we know. And
Cubans who went to Miami.
he just really he's such a big disappointment. He has sold his soul
Oh
completely.
yeah, and he has never been to mainland Cuba. By the way, he's only been to Guantanamo Bay his whole life. He's
Really?
Cuban, but he's only been to Guantanamo Bay, which is if for those I know your audience knows, it's a facility, it's
Mhm.
an area rented by the U.S. from Cuba.
Mhm.
Cuba, U.S. wants to buy it. Cuba not selling it to them, and we've got we have a torture chamber really in Guantanamo Bay
That's
where
yeah.
we torture people. He went to visit that, but he's never gone to mainland Cuba, never gone to Havana, the capital of Cuba, in
Mhm.
his life. In his life, I've been to Havana. I've been to mainland Cuba more than him, and I only been once.
Oh god, and I hear that only the five-star hotel has the lights on at night.
It's more than it's they have a few 5-star hotels.
Uh-huh.
They have, I mean, I posted on my channel. I'm not trying to give a shameless plug, but I posted
Give shameless
pictures.
plugs. It's fine.
My Instagram is REVDR Robert Turner, Reverend Dr. Robert Turner.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I posted, from the place that had power. But for the most part, the country is in the dark. It is in the dark,
Uh-huh.
and it is a direct result of America fuel blockade. That
Right.
America already has had the embargo on them since over 6 7 years now. But recently, this fuel blockade, which Cuba has the money to buy oil, but
Uh-huh.
America refuses to allow countries to sell them oil. Like,
Right.
what kind of sense does that make?
I
It's like
don't
it's like it's like
know.
it's like in a relationship. You break up with a guy,
Uh-huh.
and the guy he don't date you no more. Or he don't want you no more, but he refuses to allow other guys to talk to you.
Yeah.
What kind of sense does that make?
It does.
America's not selling them oil, but now America is making sure no other country sells them oil. So the
Yeah.
folks are literally in the dark because their power plants are thermal, and so they need oil to run their power plants.
Mhm.
Um, but Cuba is a very resilient place.
Yeah.
During COVID-19, this country, America was going to allow Cuba and Cubans to die.
Mm-hmm.
America did not send Cuba any vaccines at all, like none,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't even send them oxygen to make their own. But what Cuba did, America came up with three vaccines, right?
Yeah.
You see, I did the three. America did three vaccines. Um, Cuba came up with five.
Their medical situation over in
The
Cuba is
best,
bad. It's
the
one of the
best.
best ones.
And I tell you, if you got
Really?
anybody in your listening audience that's considering medical school, and if they can get in, because it's not easy to get in, but Cuba's medical school still, even in the midst of all of this turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
their medical school is free.
What?
You heard me say it right.
Free?
You heard me correctly. It is free. Most
Uh-huh.
doctors will tell you they spend the first 10, 15 years
Uh-huh.
paying off medical school loans.
Right. I know that for a fact. I was married to one. Yeah.
Cuba, they have, and guess what? Your medical school degree will match up anywhere in the world.
I know because they've made some breakthrough stuff. I'm
They
telling
have lung cancer
you.
therapy vaccine.
What?
They I'm telling you, they created five vaccines off of for COVID. They have revolutionized preventative care because they have been had this embargo on them for so long, so they can't get the Tylenols or the ibuprofen or the aspirins. So what they have learned how to do better than anybody is give preventative care.
Mm-hmm.
America has like a sick care,
You
a
do.
death care
Yeah.
system. We
Yeah.
we manage you while you sick. We manage you while you down, and it's
Right.
cost you is $1 trillion industry. They
Right.
get paid off of it. But in Cuba, because they don't have the resources, they
Right.
have a preventative care system. So they
Right.
actually try to help you be well and live
Right.
on your own because they don't have the resources to do the managed care, and it doesn't benefit the patient. Managed care means you still got whatever illness you had.
Right. Right.
Preventative care means you'll never get it, or if you got it, we're gonna get it out of you. And
Right.
that's perfect. Personally, that's what I prefer. I don't want to get sick. And if I do, get it out of me, you
Right.
know. But America, we just manage what you got.
Right. 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 That's right. I tell you, it's so much, so much. So listen, wrapping up because we're already technically out of time. But one
Wow.
last question: um, what benchmarks would determine whether our reparations efforts are worth it, are actually working? That are successful? What benchmarks would we have to have?
For what?
For our reparations, even on the soft things, meaning the repair things, and even and the money part. I don't even know how to figure that one out. But what would be our some of our how would we benchmark stuff to see if we're doing well if we were putting in a reparations work?
No, I think, and in my book, I mentioned about having a task force, a
Mhm.
reparatory task force,
Mhm.
and what that task force would be mandated to do
Mhm.
is to make sure that those measures and that the empirical data and studies were done to make sure that progress is being made, to make
Mhm.
sure that the measures that have been passed and implemented are meeting the needed outcome. That's something that we don't do well in government. We in science and biology they study all of those type of things, but in government we just do policies and we depend on the polls to tell us if it's having an impact.
Mhm.
But with this, because it is so important, because as I stated, it strikes to the heart of America. This has to be overseen and watched. So it's not just like, okay, I'm gonna give you a check, I'm gonna present this proposal. No, this is a longitudinal study. We have to make sure because this is the first time America's ever done this, and it will be the first time it's done this at this scale. Now we've done repair, but it's typically here's your check, get out of my face. But
Mhm.
this, because they're trying to do actual real repair,
Mhm.
make people whole. In my humble opinion, it must be overseen by another agency
Mhm.
once it is given out, to make sure that things are done. Not an agency just to submit the checks through, but an
Mhm.
agency to make sure that we're actually meeting our own goals. So every state, every city that does repair work should
Mhm.
have goals that they have in mind. I'm
Mhm.
on the Baltimore City Reparations Commission, and we're formulating what our goals look like.
Okay.
And so it's important to have that, because otherwise, what's your theory of change? What's your logic model? What are you trying to address? And and what do you expect to see? Because if we're not meeting those benchmarks, we need to go back to the drawing board and figure how better we can do this work.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Okay. Well, Ms. Butler says, I have been there, meaning Cuba, and it is not like what we have been told.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen.
Remarkable, beautiful people too. Very nice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I listen, I have enjoyed talking to you as always.
Hey,
We learned a lot. And I think I definitely want to make sure that we get your book. Okay, here's somebody has some last minute. I'm not camera ready. However, I would like to know whether Dr. Turner is familiar with the work of ADOS Advocacy Foundation. I
I I I've heard of ADOS, but not the Advocacy Foundation. I don't know what
Yeah,
that's
I've
that's what.
had you guys on my show before, and you know what? I cannot think of my friend. He's a Facebook friend that coordinated that for me, but that was over a year ago that I had you guys on the show. Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to say good night, and I appreciate you so much. I think that it was learned a whole lot.
Bless you.
Learned a whole lot, and
And I want to thank you publicly for everything you did to help me as I was
oh,
walking through North Carolina. It really meant a
oh,
lot. Really meant a whole
oh,
lot.
you are welcome. You are well. You know what? We didn't tell people what you. Okay, you started your. We didn't. That look. We can't stop the show now. Your 40 by 40 walk challenge that you're doing across the country. We forgot to talk about that. You
So I
started
did.
in North Carolina.
I
Okay.
did. I did. I
Yeah.
did. I did. I
And
did.
then
So I've been doing. I did them 40. I did the walks 40 times from Baltimore to the White House.
right.
And so the states I've done. Been North Carolina, Alabama, um, Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and this month, in fact, this Friday, I'm doing West Virginia.
Okay, but you forgot Virginia. You did
Oh,
Virginia.
and Virginia. I did Virginia too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Now,
yes, you're
Virginia.
right.
Now in North Carolina, at least you said people were nice to you.
Yeah, they were.
Virginia, you had some issues.
No, Virginia was a mess. Virginia, I got stopped by the police several times, and the Capitol Police did not the first and only capital I've ever been to. The first and the only capital I've ever been to, Virginia. I was not allowed. I was escorted off the Capitol grounds.
What?
The first and the only. I mean, I've done these walks, as you know, in North
Yes,
Carolina,
yes.
in Alabama,
Mhm,
in Pennsylvania,
mhm,
in but Virginia was the only place. I've
mhm.
gone to the White House, right?
You've been to the White House 40 times.
Exactly, 40 times. I have never been escorted off the grounds of the White House.
Mhm,
Ever.
mhm.
Virginia was the first and so far only time
Uh-huh.
I had a Capitol officer tell me I had to go.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Mm,
Sure
mm.
was.
It sounds like there needs to be a letter written to the new governor.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
So when is your next walk?
Friday in
Oh,
West
that's
Virginia.
right. In West Virginia. You got your people set up, you got your cheering crowd, you got your support, your church support.
I'm trying, but West Virginia, you ain't gonna believe this. It has a population of 3.6, 3.9% black folk.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, it's real
Ain't
small.
but 50 to 60,000 black folk in West Virginia. Um, but I'm trying. I thank God for those who have reached out and who will support it. It's a mountainous state.
Yeah.
It's a very rural state.
Yeah.
But I'll be there, and I pray that y'all keep me in prayer.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna
And
need it.
but listen, please don't go out there in the dark. like you were
Hmm.
here in North Kakalaki. You got
Yes,
to have
goodness.
support out there with your
Right.
water and your bananas and your
You right. You know it, don't you? You
yeah,
know it. You know it.
all your snacks that you got to have and your
Yes,
apples
yes,
and all of
yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
these walks that he's doing, he does 40 miles. He's
Mhm,
trying to do it in each state across the country.
mm.
That is to bring attention and awareness to reparations.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
So when
right.
you guys see it on your local news or whatever, that's what it's about.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll say good night. Wave off to
Bye.
everybody. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.